In a small town, there was a boy named Rohan, intelligent, full of potential, and with big dreams. His goal was clear: to become a doctor. But there was one major obstacle standing in his way. He couldn't control his own mind. Rohan struggled with discipline. His thoughts were always scattered. Every time he tried to study, distractions would take over: his phone, social media, or just daydreaming. He'd often tell himself, "I'll study later, there's still time." But later never came. His parents and teachers warned him about the importance of focus, but he didn't take their advice seriously. Rohan believed that intelligence alone would be enough for success. Then, one day, his school announced the results of the scholarship exam he'd taken. Rohan had hoped that securing the scholarship would bring him one step closer to his dream. But when the results came out, he was crushed. He had failed. His friends, who had studied diligently, passed with flying colors. The teachers who once praised him now looked at him with disappointment. That evening, Rohan sat alone, feeling ashamed, not because he wasn't smart, but because deep down, he knew he had wasted his time. He realized that, while intelligence was important, without discipline, success was impossible. Determined to change, Rohan sought guidance from someone who had mastered self-discipline. He'd heard of a wise monk living on the outskirts of town. People said this monk had transformed his life through sheer discipline. The next morning, Rohan visited the monastery. He found the old monk meditating under a tree, his face radiating a deep sense of peace. With respect, Rohan approached him and said, "Master, I struggle to control my mind. I want to succeed, but distractions always pull me away. Please teach me how to discipline my mind." The monk opened his eyes and smiled gently. "Ah, the restless mind. This is the greatest challenge of all," he said. "Let me tell you a story. Years ago, there was a young man named V. He dreamed of becoming the greatest archer in the kingdom. V was strong and talented, but his mind was scattered. One day, he approached a famous archery master and said, "I want to be the best. Please teach me." The master took V to a riverbank and handed him a bow and arrow. He pointed to a leaf floating on the water. "Shoot that leaf," the master instructed. V aimed and released the arrow, but it missed. The master asked, "What did you see when you aimed?" V replied, "I saw the river, the trees, the sky, and the leaf." The master shook his head. "That is your problem. You see too many things at once. A true archer sees only his target, nothing else." Determined to improve, V practiced for months, training his mind to focus solely on the target. Eventually, when the master asked him again, V answered, "I see only the leaf." This time, when he released the arrow, it struck the target perfectly. The monk looked at Rohan. "Your mind is like V's. It is distracted by everything around you. If you want to succeed, you must train your mind to see only your goal." Rohan understood the lesson, but still wasn't sure how to apply it. "Master, how do I train my mind?" The monk smiled and gave him 4 simple rules. 1. Control your thoughts. Whenever your mind wanders, bring it back to the task at hand. Just like an archer, see only your goal. 2. Create a routine. Discipline thrives on structure. Set a daily schedule and stick to it. 3. Remove distractions. Identify what steals your focus, your phone, TV, unnecessary activities, and eliminate them while working. 4. Be consistent. Mental discipline isn't built in a day. It requires daily effort, just like an athlete trains his body. Rohan took the monk's advice seriously. He created a strict study schedule, and whenever his mind wandered, he reminded himself of his goal. He stopped using social media while studying and even deleted unnecessary apps from his phone. At first, it was tough. His mind craved distractions, but he didn't give up. Day by day, his focus improved. He could study for hours without losing concentration. Months later, he sat for another important exam. This time, he was prepared. He didn't just pass, he secured the top rank. Rohan's success wasn't due to luck or talent alone. It was the result of unwavering discipline and the power of a focused mind. It wasn't intelligence alone that had brought him success. It was his discipline that made all the difference. Years later, as Rohan stood on stage receiving an award for academic excellence, he remembered the monk's words, "The mind is like a wild horse. If you don't control it, it will take you wherever it wants. But if you train it, it will take you exactly where you want to go." From that day forward, Rohan lived by one principle: discipline your mind, and success will follow.